places. The reason that's that color is because that's where the lava flowed on top of it, and it baked that rock, turning it that color. This nice pillared lava rock on our right with nice steel mesh netting on top to make sure rocks fall down rather than out. Sticking with the right side windows, dark gray lava rock gives way to very distinct break in the rock layers, this chalky white rock. This chalky white rock, same chalky white rock at the top of the Grand Canyon. This is that Kaibab limestone, hundreds of millions of years of dead sea creatures piled up on top of each other. We're going to see the first few layer formations of rock that are in the Grand Canyon as we make our way down this side of the plateau as well. I'll point them out to you. The main story I have about these switchbacks is for the brief time he was in university, undergrad, studying his geology and paleontology up at NAU in Flagstaff, my father. It was the summer of 71 or 72, and a bunch of his friends decided they wanted to go have a nice long weekend of swimming and camping and having fun in a place called Slide Rock down in the canyon. And so many friends thought that was such a good idea that they needed 2 vehicles. Most of the friends piled into one vehicle and they started heading down here from Flagstaff. The vehicle my father was in was this old Jeep, this very late 60s, maybe very early 70s Jeep. It had this altimeter in the front dash. That way if you're going off-roading, you can kind of see what angle you were getting at. And if you're getting at too much of an angle, it starts beeping at you. The height of technology, 1960-something. And they had to pick up a friend on the other side of town, so they drove across Flagstaff, picked them up and started heading down here. And his buddy, who owned the Jeep and was driving, said, I wonder if we can beat them down Slide Rock. And my dad remembers sitting in the passenger seat of that Jeep doing this as they two-wheeled it around these switchbacks, watching the altimeter as it went 45 degrees one way, went beep, 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 and then went 45 degrees the other way, went beep, 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 the whole way down. They eventually did make it down where it's flat, did catch up to their friends, and did pass them at the passing zone and beat them there. But my dad says he never has to do that again. You can see why. It's peachy tan flecked with gray rock. This is the second formation down in the Grand Canyon. This is coconino sandstone mixed with some Navajo sandstone here. Original sandy sea bed back when the ocean was here. And as we come around this major bend here, where it starts turning red on our right, that's the beginnings of the third formation down in the Grand Canyon. If you remember looking at the Grand Canyon, about halfway down, there's a really big, thick middle red layer. That's the beginnings of it back there. It's known as the Supai Formation. That's all we see of it, though, because Oak Creek Canyon is not hit deep enough, which is ironic to say as they're still headed downhill. The reason for that is because when the chasm initially split open from that fault activity, after the split, one end of the chasm, one end of the canyon, slid into the fault zone, so now they're at differing heights. So not right here. Well, I'm about to say you cannot see right here, but if you pay attention as you move through the canyon, you'll notice that rock on one side of the canyon will look different than rock on the other side of the canyon at the same level. And that's because they're different heights now. One side slid into the fault zone. So that's all we see. The Supai Formation is up there. But we are now down where it's flat. You guys made it. Congratulations. Good job, everybody. I appreciate everybody's confidence in me. There's nobody praying. It's happened before. Get up at the top there, and I said, look out those windows. And people look out the canyon, and I look in the rearview mirror, and there are people doing this and muttering to themselves. Even if it was just service level, I appreciate your confidence in me. Because I also heard nobody breathing. Coming around this right-hand turn. It's a very popular spot. Coming up on the right. Right here is a spring head. It's going to be this little structure right there where they're throwing up stuff at the spring. Never seen it empty there all my life. Coming through here with friends, family, by myself, on a tour. Either direction, hasn't mattered. I've never seen it empty there. There's always at least one person playing at least one thing at the spring head. Very, very popular. And in the high season, which just means summer kind of coming into now, especially on the weekends, either side of this road, either side of that spring head, there'll be cars pulled out and lined up to fill up whatever they have in the spring head. Very, very popular. In general, in the high season, either so meaning kind of end of summer through now, especially on the weekends, either side of this road in general will have people pulled out on either side of it. Either an official pullouts, like some that are coming up, or just in general on the side of the road. And they're allowed to do that so long as they have purchased something called the Red Rock Pass from the ranger station on the other side of Sedona. If they purchase that, they can pull out wherever along the road, either an official pullouts like these on either side of us, or just on the side of the road. The one contingency they have for just being on the side of the road is you have to be able to fully get your vehicle completely off the road. But as long as you can do that and you have that pass, you can. Otherwise, it's unofficial pullouts. And during the high season, either side of this road is wherever there's space. It's filled up, especially on the weekends. People want to come here and have a good time in the canyon. Like these guys on the right, for example. These guys, official pullout. So campgrounds spread throughout the canyon as well. And they start closing around the end of October or so. They start closing up the campgrounds here because it snows up here. It's very cold and it snows. We're also getting pretty close to the most popular hike in Arizona. It is known as the West Fork Trail because it goes up the West Fork of Oak Creek to Spring Head up there. It is the most popular hike in Arizona. And again, in the high season, especially on the weekends, the parking lot there at the trailhead for Oak Creek or for the West Fork can fill up as early as 8 o'clock in the morning, if not sometimes earlier. And when it does, people will drive down the street like this. They'll pull out on the left like this, although some might be down at the watering hole. Well, I don't see anybody though. So maybe they are just going on a hike. But when the parking lot is full, they'll do that, or kind of up here on the left like they're doing here. They'll get out of their car, they'll walk across the street, they'll go on the other side of this guardrail, and they'll walk back to the trailhead because they really, really want to go on that trail, but the parking lot was full. That's what they do. I think there are better trails in Arizona, but it is the most popular. And not that it's like those guys, not that it's bad. It's actually a very nice hike. I just think there are better ones, but this is probably, it's a very nice hike and it's probably easier to access than a lot of the ones I have in mind. And those guys, that's what they're doing. We are in what's considered the back end of the canyon. The farther back in the canyon you are, that's the trailhead, by the way. The farther back in the canyon you are, the older the residential buildings are. A lot of the stuff we've been passing by, especially down here on the right that we'll see soon as well, were built sometime between the mid-20s to early 40s. They tend to be just passed down in families. Just because if you sell it, you're going to get a bunch of money for it, but no one in the family's ever coming back here. Even if they have millions, that doesn't help them. No one else back here is selling. And very, very rarely do they sell back here. Having said that, though, way up at the end, there is one that's for sale, currently for sale. It's been for sale since I started paying attention for at least month 11 now. So I suppose they're still asking too much for it. But for a while, about a year and a half ago, it was for sale as well, but it had a 72-hour home sale sign on it. I think became a very fun joke during the tours, because I'd say, yeah, that 72-hour home sale sign's been there 3 months now. Then it disappeared, thought they sold. Guess they didn't, because it's for sale again. Right down here, there's a little A-frame. So I guess they're still asking too much. Lots of little boutique rental cabins and boutique hotels spread throughout the canyon. Several rental cabins come up on our left here. We usually have a little general store attached to them, so that way you don't have to go all the way to Flagstaff or Sedona for necessities. Coming up on the right, here's the Northside Fire Station. And speaking of residential, coming up down on the creek, some guy privately built this concrete crossing of the creek down there. Privately built this bridge and owns these 3 houses here on the end, just to give you an idea how much money he has. Most of the homes back here in the canyon are holiday homes, vacation homes. People are only here a few times a year, a few times a season, or one extended period during the year. Other than that, they're usually empty or probably vacation homes and out, Airbnb and stuff. There are annual residents in the canyon, though. They are just few and far between. They're pretty much 1% out of 99, but they do exist. Most of the population of annual residents, most of them live down near the Sedona end of the canyon, but there are a couple back here, but not many. We are getting close to Slide Rock State Park, that destination of my father and his friends in the story I told. It's called Slide Rock because the flowing of Oak Creek has formed a natural slick rock water slide there that people slide down and play in the pools with and have a grand old time with. Very popular spot, Slide Rock. It always has been. But even 20 years ago, the people who knew about Slide Rock were the people in Sedona, some people in Flagstaff, a smattering of others the farther out you got, but then eventually you kind of hit a radius and people would go, what? And then about 10 years ago, Instagram found it, and now there's times where you drive by Slide Rock, especially during the high season, especially on the weekends when you cannot see ground at Slide Rock. Because 10 years ago, Instagram found it, now everybody's there. There are several places like that in Arizona, within my living memory, where if you didn't know it was there, you drove by it. Or you looked out the window and you went, that might be a dirt lot. That might be sand that the wind blew in. And now there's times I've driven by and there's a parking lot and restrooms and a pay booth to get in. I know one of you earlier was asking me about Horseshoe Bend. If anyone else has heard about Horseshoe Bend on the Colorado River. I remember when nobody knew what Horseshoe Bend was. You drove past it. And then about 10 years ago, Instagram found it. And now, the past couple years, I've driven by up there, and now there's a parking lot and restroom and a pay booth to get in. When you used to just pull out on the side of the road and walk out to it. Not anymore. You start looking kind of out the forward, kind of rightish side of the van, you start seeing why it has a nickname, little cousin to the Grand Canyon with all these formations and colors and the way the sun's hitting it. We are just up creek, up canyon, up road, whatever term you want to use, from Slide Rock. This area is known as Cliff Jump State Park. I'll give you 3 guesses as to why. Yep. We are getting close to Slide Rock. Slide Rock State Park is also where the original homesteading area of Sedona occurred. Original homesteaders were there. We'll talk about that soon too. As we come around this curve, coming up on our right, kind of where this right angle turn sign is, right down there is Slide Rock. And there's some people down there, yeah. If you want to try and see the Slide Rock itself, as we go across this bridge, I'll turn all the way around and look up the canyon, but you might catch a glimpse of it. It's just hard from this perspective. Up on our right here, this is part of the original apple orchard of the homesteaded area. That's what Sedona used to be known for way back in the day, was apples. There were dozens of apple